because the problem with the Inpatriate regime is that I can apply, I can self-certify that I have all the requirements, but what are those requirements? They are not clear, they're just the law, but behind the law there are a lot of Italian tax clarification that needs to be taken into account before apply for this regime. Hello guys, welcome back to ESENtaxa. Andrea Papito here, and in this video I'm going to explain you how to apply for the Inpatriate regime forever. Hold on, this is a very important video. I'm going to explain you one specific case scenario that you might fall into, and you might be interested in this kind of information. So if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, notification bell and like button to help ESENtaxa grow. And if this happens to be the first time to watch one of our videos, ESENtaxa talks about how to optimize your taxation if you want to move to Italy, if you want to relocate in this country. We are their #1 channel that explains in English language everything about the Italian tax system, tax optimization. We go very in details with the tax law, tax specifications, and we also offer a consultancy services in which we can understand exactly your specific situation and provide you a tax simulation, provide you a tax consultancy, and understand if Italy makes sense for you and if you can exploit for the famous tax benefits in Italy, and if you can actually squeeze your taxes down to zero. And we cover also Portugal, Belgium, and Albania as jurisdictions. So we offer exactly the same services for those jurisdictions as well. In this specific video, we are going to talk again about the Inpatriate regime. Recently, the Inpatriate regime has been improved because we received INPS clarification that will tell us that the freelancer self-employed income, they will have a reduction of the social security as well. So after the deduction of 70% of the income, or if you move in the south of Italy, 90% of your income, then you calculate the social security. So this will be not just only a big tax discount, but also a social security tax discount, if you want to call it like this one. Here, instead, I want to reply to one of our clients. Today, one of our clients came to me and asked me, but would it be possible to use the Inpatriate regime forever? Well, at the first glance, the answer is no, of course not, because the Inpatriate regime, it lasts for 5 years. You have just a way to extend this regime for other 5 years. So you have 5 years of Inpatriate regime plus other 5. But the first 5, if you moved in the south of Italy, you have a 90% deduction. The other 5, if you manage to extend the Inpatriate regime, it will shrink, the deduction is shrink to 50%, okay? So it's not anymore convenient as in the previous 5 years. And the classical requirements is that you have to purchase a property in Italy in the first 5 years, or if you have with you child, if you carry with you minors. There are some exceptions. If you are a researcher, work in a lab, you will always have 90% deduction also after 5 years. But what is the trick to make this regime actually, based on the strict requirement to access this regime, is not possible. By the way, we also offer a service in which we can test if you apply for this regime or not. We give you the famous Inpatriate regime eligibility test, because it's very important to understand in advance if you qualify for this regime, because after 5 years you can receive a control from your Italian tax agency, and if you didn't respect your all the requirements, they might ask you back all the money that you have saved, plus interest and plus a huge fine. So because the problem with the Inpatriate regime is that I can apply, I can self-certify that I have all the requirements, but what are those requirements? They are not clear, they're just the law, but behind the law there are a lot of Italian tax clarification that needs to be taken into account before apply for this regime. So, and once you have the requirements, you have made the Inpatriate regime eligibility test, you pass it, you have the first 5 years, and then what happened? I'm moving to the next 5 years, or I didn't purchase any property in Italy, I cannot move forward. So my regime actually stops after 5 years. So how can I move for indefinitely other 5 years and other 5 years, other 5 years? So I'm going to explain you a small trick. One of the requirements is that you have to not be tax resident in the previous 2 years prior the relocation to Italy, okay? Tax residence. What you can do here is that you can move out of Italy, you can move in another jurisdiction, let's say jurisdiction X. So you change the tax residence in another jurisdiction. At the beginning of the following year, you finalize 5 years in Italy, okay? And then the next year, you switch your tax residence in another jurisdiction. Another jurisdiction that more or less give you the same tax savings, the same amount of tax savings. and this is something that we can analyze together. So a nice jurisdiction, maybe in Europe, that can be substitute your tax residence just for a very short period of time. And you can keep living in Italy. I will explain you how and for how long time. So you can stay, again, 5 years in Italy, you benefit from the Inpatriate regime, you move the tax resident in another country. So in the 1st of January of 2028, you move in this country, but then you can go back to Italy physically after the 2nd of July of that specific tax year. You move in that country, you move out for that country, you go back to Italy, and you can stay in Italy without even pay taxes in this country. So you're keep paying taxes in this other jurisdiction. So the second semester, let's say the latest 6 months, you can stay in Italy without paying taxes in Italy at all. Then in 2029, you can keep staying in Italy for the other 6 months. You left the country, you move out from Italy before the 2nd of July, and the latest 6 months, you will be living in this X country. So the X countries in the first semester, you have to live physically for more than 183 days for the first semester of 2028 and for the second semester of 2029, okay? So X here in the second semester. As you can see here, you managed to stay 1 entire year in Italy without paying taxes in Italy. So actually, with this trick, you will stay 2 tax years outside Italy, so you won't be tax resident in Italy for 2 consecutive years, which is the requirement to apply again for the Inpatriate regime. And here start again other 5 years of Inpatriate regime. So this is how it works. You stay 5 years. I repeat a little bit. Maybe it might be a little bit confusing from this drawing, but it works like this. You stay 5 years in Italy. You move the tax resident in a different jurisdiction with a nice, favorable regime, and here we can help you with our consultancy services. We have jurisdiction that works in very similar with the Inpatriate regime. First 6 months, you have to stay in this country. The other 6, you can stay in Italy. In Italy, basically, you can stay 1 entire year because you make 6 months and the second part of the year and 6 months of the first part of the following year, 2028, 2029. Then you go back to this country, you close all the paperwork to get rid of again of the tax resident, and in the fresh 2030, you will start again with the Inpatriate regime for other 5 years. When you have the other 5 years expires, then you will move again in another jurisdiction, or can be the same X on another jurisdiction that in all this time maybe something changed, other jurisdiction implement different tax regime, even maybe more favorable the Inpatriate regime in Italy, then you can basically switch in those jurisdictions and make the same, play in the same way. And this can work indefinitely. You say, but how can this be possible? The possibility is given by the fact that the law says the previous 2 tax years you have to be abroad, okay? But it also says you have to prove 24 consecutive months abroad of working experience, okay? But it doesn't say, the second part is not specifying the previous 2. In the previous 2 tax years, you have to also prove 24 consecutive months of experience abroad. No, the experience abroad has to be proven only once in your lifetime. Okay, so that's the trick. So the tax resident is something, the 2 years of tax resident is something that has to be verified right prior your relocation. But the 24 consecutive months of your work experience, once you had it in your life, is always given for grant. It is always okay. You can always use it for the next application of the Inpatriate regime. I think in this video I gave you too much, okay? So I will stop here now. Thank you for watching this video, notification bell, like button, and see you to the next video. Thank you.